Well, hello, everybody. Happy Tuesday, August 25th. How's everybody doing this lovely Tuesday morning? I'm doing just fine. Thanks for asking. Um, we got a lot to get into here today. Very busy day ahead of us here. Realistically, they're all busy. I I'm great, Elf. Thanks for asking. I appreciate that. Hello, as everybody begins trickling in here. I gotta tell you, there's nothing that bothers me more than like the uh what's the word I'm looking for here? Fluctuation in my life. I'm moving, I'm getting my new studio at the end of the week. I'm changing apartments at the end of the week, but I don't know if that apartment's going to be ready for me to move in on the day that I was intending anymore. I still got to pack so much of my shit up, and I'm doing 2 shows a day. And I got to say, this is like my nightmare. I saw you guys talking about nightmares in the group chat there on YouTube, and yeah, I'm living my nightmare right now. It's not that I'm throwing slow punches trying to fight fascism or anything like that. No, my nightmare is just allowing all these things to stack up on me, and then I have to try and push through it from there. Good morning, good morning, good morning. And hello to Political Drain. Thank you for joining the show today as well. Always appreciate seeing some new faces in the chat, as well as all the regulars. You're all wonderful people. Thank you for being here. Old Lib, I see you in the chat. My bruise is almost healed. I'm almost back to 100%. Old Lib took me shooting about like 10 days ago at this point, and I've been healing ever since then because I took one shot in a lazy fashion. So what happens? You let your guard down for one shot and it's all over. It's like Eminem. Do not miss your chance to blow. Um, how far were your targets? Far enough that I missed a lot of them. More than half. They were moving too. It was very difficult. It was very, very difficult. Um, but we got a lot to get into here today. If you haven't seen me talking about it, I do have a guest at 10 o'clock. I'm not going to use her name. She refers to herself as Red Witch. I'm going to go with that. Um, she was at the protest with our boy right behind me here, Spider Man, who I thought was a fictional character. Turns out that he's a real boy and is willing to fight fascism with so many of us who are listening today, which is pretty awesome. Which brings about the title of today's program: When is it okay to punch a fascist? I don't actually know what the exact title was. I might not have actually read the title, and it doesn't have it in front of me here, so I kind of eyeballed it. But when is it okay to punch a fascist? And I'm going to tell you right now, the answer is all the time. Um, and we will be talking about this in a more in-depth fashion at 10 a.m. Central. But just to kind of give my own thoughts on the matter as we start the show off here, um, it's the concept of what's referred to as the paradox of tolerance. It's like a running bit. I oftentimes do the bit on this show when I say something offensive, and then I go so much for the tolerant left, and then I go off on a tangent about how the concept of the tolerant left was actually created by liberals, the we go low or they go low, we go high kind of thing. And actual leftists are like, well, you guys can do that. That's not necessarily the way that I would handle things, but that's how other people. But if that's how you want to handle it, more power to you. If you're not familiar with what the paradox of intolerance is, it's that the overarching goal is to create a tolerant society where all opinions are welcome. And so fascists and Nazis and others of the like tend to exploit that kind of mentality, saying, "Oh yeah, all viewpoints are welcome. Now let me explain why the blacks and the Jews are holding us back." And it's like, "Oh, well, no, like that's the exact opposite of the thing we're trying to do right now." And it's like, and they'll be like, "Well, we're just here. It's just the marketplace of ideas. We're just here to talk about what we think." And they rile up all the stupidest people, the 33% of people that still think Donald Trump's doing a good job as president. They rile those people up. And then all of a sudden you got 1930s and 40s Germany on your hands there. So, in order to build a tolerant society, the paradox of intolerance is in order for a tolerant society to exist, you need to be intolerant of the intolerant. And that's why it's a paradox, because the whole thing is about tolerating ideas. But I think fundamentally, if you are paying attention, if you are genuine in your goals, you have to acknowledge this kind of thing. What was the other guy's name? Sean Spencer, maybe something Spencer. Back during Trump 1.0, when he got punched in the face like hard, and he was there complaining about black people. A black guy runs up, jaws him in the face. I remember I shared an edit of him, and he punches him, and as soon as goes to show you the time period that it happened, because the song that was used was Miley Cyrus's "Wrecking Ball." And it was like he's just talking, and then you hear, I came in like a wrecking ball, and he gets jawed, and then you kind of move on. And of course, the MAGAs get all butthurt about it, saying, oh no, he was just sharing his ideas. I don't understand whatever happened to freedom of speech. Well, as MAGA always loves to say, fuck around and find out. Am I right? And so a gentleman showed up as Spider-Man on Saturday in Minneapolis, whacked this individual Jake Lang, who I go out of my way to not know a lot about. And we're going to be talking about that. I'm going to let my guests kind of set the stage. He was showing up to do his, general shtick that he always does, hating on the LGBTQ community and immigrants and anybody that kind of, you know, is not really in a position to defend themselves a lot of the times. Which I guess is great work if you can get it. Punching down seems really easy. It's a lot harder to punch up. Oftentimes you get fired when you punch up. Just saying. Punching down though seems to be a very lucrative business these days. But so he got whacked. And it's just so perfect because he's like holding a giant cross, hiding behind his Christian nationalism. And it ends up getting just jawed in the mouth by a guy dressed as Spider-Man while he's trying to run his truck through a bunch of counter protesters. So, needless to say, you can tell where I come down on the matter. I'm not a violent dude. I am not built for contact. I'm built to do exactly what I'm doing right now. Everybody has their strengths and everybody has their weaknesses. Um, and it's a matter of utilizing those strengths for good and not for weakness, and not for weakness, and not for evil, not for bad. I don't believe in evil, not for bad. Use your strengths, use your abilities in whatever way you can to prop up the people, the communities, the locations that are not capable of doing so themselves. And what this individual did yesterday or on Saturday was exactly that. And the fact that he did it as Spider-Man made it, stand out even more. I did my video, if you guys didn't see it, where I said, the real life superheroes aren't going to show up. And then I just smash edited it into a picture of the guy just whacking him in the jaw. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, we're going to get a much more in-depth conversation about it in about 50 minutes from somebody who was there, from an activist, from someone in Minnesota who has some thoughts on the matter as well. And I'm very much looking forward to that chat. It was kind of set up in an impromptu way, but I'm looking forward to hear what they have to say. So we got one here. It says 45 and 47 is evil. The only monsters are human. Here's the deal. I don't believe in evil. I believe in excessive greed. I believe in people acting badly because of the circumstances they were born into. I believe in selfishness. I believe in all of these negative attributes that can be um, explained through specific ways. But the idea that somebody is born bad, I don't ascribe to. Like the concept of evil means you're just evil. Like, I don't think that's real. I've never been that way. I've never been wired to believe that people are just innately bad, whether it's a lack of education, whether it's a lack of morals, whether it's a lack of situational awareness, whatever the situation is, I do not ascribe it to just straight up being evil. That's my personal opinion on the matter. Exactly. It's what a person does with their experiences. I agree with that. But so we'll have a much more in depth conversation about that in the 10 o'clock hour, Central Time, for those of you not listening in the Midwest. There are other things I would like to get into in the world of politics here before we get into that. I'm not going to be talking about it for the entire 2 hours here. But let me get my notes back up here. Of course, I wasn't ready. Let's talk about something that also would be construed as evil. If you didn't see my post from this morning, and this one hurts because I got to say, we probably should have seen this coming. I don't know that I saw it coming this quickly. If you didn't see the post that I threw up on my socials this morning, a school district in Nebraska, this is as per The Guardian, and I'm actually 3 days late on this article. So it didn't even take as long as I'm about to say it to you. But a Nebraska school district is asking police to stop using the shock gloves on their students. Omaha police agreed to stop carrying electric shock gloves in the halls of state's largest public school district. Now, I am not implying that these things got invented overnight. What I am saying is I feel like I heard about these shock gloves a week ago, maybe two. I remember the news story came down and it said $200 million deal signed between ICE and the government for these new shock gloves. And they're these gloves that look like normal gloves. You put your hand on them and it sends an electric current through your body. And but don't worry, it can only last for 15 fucking seconds. That's the way they try and justified it to us. And one person ended up sending me a message on TikTok that was like, it was a person standing there and they said, let me show you what it feels like to be shocked for 15 seconds. And he stands there in front of a clock. And like after 10 seconds, you're like, man, that's a really long time to have electricity going through your body. Then, of course, you have the fascists who come out there and say, oh, these are great because not only do they pacify the threat immediately, but they don't leave any marks on the body. So you can even use them against people that aren't acting out and nobody will even really know the difference. And now, at most 2 weeks after we have found out that they exist, we are now discovering that schools in Nebraska are using them. Police officers are using them against minors. It took 2 weeks. No, I'm not signing up for this. Nobody is signing up for this. There is not a single goddamn thing that a 16-year-old is doing. There's not a single thing that a 36-year-old is doing, by the way. Fuck the gloves and fuck ICE. But if we're going to live in this world, it most certainly does not get used on minors. And the fact that it happens so quickly begs the question, how much longer will it take for it to get worse? In a year, what is this going to look like? What will this work like in 6 months, 12 months, 24 months? Because I hate to break it to you guys, we're looking at about 26 more months of Donald Trump before we can put this shit to bed. And I, for one, do not have any trust that the Democrats are going to put a stop to this thing once they regain power in a couple of years, which is inevitably going to happen. Sister Jones on TikTok says another step towards turning schools into prison. I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more. And we wonder why our students are struggling so much. Political Drain says the Republican schools couldn't wait to be the test subjects. It is funny how that happens, isn't it? And like, you know what's crazy, PD? I even found my inner monologue saying that. I was like, you know what? If these right wingers want to live in their fascist utopia, go ahead and electrocute your kids. But then, like, I immediately kicked into, like, for instance, there are more Republican voters in California than there are in Alabama, Mississippi, Arkansas, and Louisiana combined. And yet California is viewed as a liberal bastion, which it is. Not a leftist bastion, mind you, a liberal bastion. Um, there's a lot of people. I'm not saying if you voted for Trump, you deserve to get electrocuted, but if anybody deserves to get shocked, it should be the people championing the electrocution gloves. Those are the people that the gloves should be used on. So there's part of me that's like, good. You know what, Nebraska? Do you? You're getting exactly what you asked for. Um, but then part of me is like, A, no minor deserves this, regardless of how stupid or intelligent they are. But B, there's a lot of people that probably think and talk exactly like me in Nebraska that don't want any parts of this, that in no way appreciate what it is that they are seeing. And they are stuck in those kind of situations. And I'm not in a position, like, I know full well I moved from Pittsburgh to the Fox Valley. And moving is an expensive proposition. You know what I mean? You need a security deposit. You need to, are you paying movers? Are you moving yourself? Do you own a home's worth of furniture? Are you in an apartment? What's the situation? The list goes on and on. And I recognize that there's like people say, well, if you're fed up with it, then just move out of Nebraska. What's the average pay in Nebraska? What blue state are you going to be able to move into while living in Nebraska? This is a true story, although it is a bit dated, but the principle still holds. I bought a Honda CRZ back in 2017. It was my favorite car, and unfortunately, I had to get rid of it 2 years later in order to be able to drive for Uber. But I went to a place in a location called Indiana, Pennsylvania. It's about an hour and 15 minutes east of the city of Pittsburgh, where I live. And the reason I drove that far to go and buy a car is because now I believe this is more prevalent, but at the time, there was a car dealership there where there were no negotiations. The car salesmen were not on commission. They got paid a flat fee for every car they sold, but they were not paid more if they were able to trick you into buying the car for a more expensive price. So there was something less threatening about that relative to what goes on at most used car dealerships, right? So I go over there, I drop off the car that I had, and then they give you a I didn't get a haircut, Miss J. Um they give you an enterprise ride. They have somebody drive you to the dealership. And I'm talking to the guy while I'm driving there. He goes, I go, yeah, what a good idea to run a car dealership this way rather than the way we're used to seeing it. And he says to me, oh my God, there's a line wrapped around the building to work at Blue Knob Auto. That was the name of it. People can't wait to get a job there because it pays so well for what you're doing. And I was like, really? What do these guys make? And he says, if you sell a car, you get $200. He goes, and some of these guys are selling 15 cars a month. Now, I recognize 2017 economy is way different than 2026 economy, right? And I hope that those numbers are higher relative to what the cost of living is today. But let's just be perfectly frank. Even in 2017, the idea that $200 per car was a big deal and that the higher ranking sales reps were selling 15 cars a month, then that means pre-tax you're looking at $3 grand a month. Do you understand what the average cost to go and move to Indiana, PA is red as fuck. Pittsburgh is a very blue city. They have a socialist county executive right now. They elected her. She actually went to high school with me. It's awesome. But they have a socialist running the city right now as a county executive. It's awesome. In order for you to be able to save enough money living in Indiana, Pennsylvania to move to a blue city like that is not a straightforward proposition. So you could be there as a leftist living in Indiana, Pennsylvania. Maybe your teachers now have the shot gloves. And there's enough morons out there that are train sealing their way into clapping for the shot gloves. And you're really not going to have any means to get out of there. So, as much as my Schadenfreude wants me to be like, you know what? Play red state games, win red state prizes. The empath in me, the bleeding heart lefty in me is like, there's a lot of people that just cannot physically move away from this bullshit. And they feel stuck. And it sucks. And it sucks. And it sucks how fast it's happening. And last I checked, and I should probably pull up Facebook just to see if I'm getting any comments right now. But there was only one Jagoff in the comments last I checked who was like championing what it was that I was highlighting for people there. I hope it didn't get any higher than that. Doesn't look like it did. All right, good. But there are people that are pretending that what they're seeing is a net positive, and I am just not willing to play that game with these people. Let's see here. I've been getting a ton of comments. I apologize. I'm trying to get better at like getting my thoughts out there and then checking the comments. I'm trying to find a nice blend between the two. They're practicing for January 6, 2029, maybe. Maybe, but it also would require all of the bad guys to have the electric. Like, I just don't buy that. I don't buy there's plenty of people in the armed services that are standing up and doing what's right. You know what I mean? There's people like I feel you. I feel that, but we'll bide our time on that. And again, I have data that we're going to jump into in the second half hour of this show. Trump's strongly approve rating is at 13%, and only 33% of Republicans are in that camp. Like I always say, in order for his fascist takeover to work, there actually have to be a population of people that want that fascist takeover. You know what I mean? And I think enough of us, like I say, MAGA didn't react to a school being blown up in Iran, but they did react to their gas prices going up. I'm not saying they have their head in the right spot, but yeah, I was wondering. I just saw a friend of mine ask. I am live. All of my numbers seem lower right now for streaming. Like I see myself on Facebook right here, but I just had a friend of mine say that they're not seeing me live. I clicked an extra button this time. I'm learning my lesson. I clicked schedule my live. I'm never doing that again because I feel like that fucked with the algorithm a little bit. But I hope anybody who's listening to me on Facebook right now, according to my most recent update, I'm not getting any messages from you, and it says nobody's watching. So I apologize. I'm not blowing you off, but I know normally there's some people there, and I'm not seeing it. Yeah, I got TikTok. I got you, the tube of you. We're all up and running, but it seems as though Facebook's being a bastard right now. Let's see here. Omaha public schools have had shot gloves available to school resource officers since 2023. That's crazy. That's crazy to me. I have been zapped by my defibrillator 29 times in a row over an hour because of real bad AFib, like an explosion in my head each time. That's absolutely crazy, Herb. What if you go to all, Allie? You're in Reels. I'm pretty sure my lives never go up on Reels. Hold on. I apologize, guys. Let me just run some quick test run here just to see. Yeah, no, see, there's my iPad kid status, but there's me doing live shit. You got Benception going right there. So it is live, at least on my page. I don't know if anybody else is seeing it right now. My aunt lives in a deep red part of Indiana. When I go there, it's uncomfortable sometimes. I totally believe that. Yeah, I have the red ring on my page, Allie. Um, you don't appear to be broadcasting on Facebook. What the fuck? Well, you know what? I had a friend of mine say that I should schedule the lives ahead and post it. I'm just never going to do that again. I'm just going to go live the way I have been. I'll have to make a post after this wraps up. I don't want to throw my flow off now, but that sucks. Well, shit. Okay. Uh, does anyone know the company selling the shock gloves? I do not. Okay, let's just see here. Just because you're blowing me up, I may as well look. Yeah, according to my thing, it's all working, guys. All right, it's not showing me on Facebook, son of a bitch. All right, well, nothing we can do about it now, right? We're going to move on. Does anyone know the company selling the shock gloves? How big of a kickback is the company making? I would need more I would need more information. I'd be shooting from the hip on that one there. KG says, so say that I strongly disapprove of Trump. Trump is a gross understatement. Well, let's see here. Um, strongly disapprove of Donald Trump is at 85%. Who the fuck are the 15%? What's crazy is that 1% of Dems strongly approve. That has to be a troll, right? That has to be a Republican cosplaying as a Democrat. Does that make sense? Oh, get out of here. Is that the real name of the company? To the person that asked, the company selling the gloves is Compliant Technologies. It's a veteran owned business out of Kentucky. The idea that it's called Compliant Technologies kind of says all that we need to know. You know what's going to be nice is that when there is a Democratic majority in the House and Senate and inevitably in the presidency in 2028, like, any of these don't tread on me, bootlicking fascist motherfuckers aren't going to have a leg to stand on because, like, the idea that they're championing companies like Compliant Technologies and weaponizing the police and all, like, it's just wild. I was watching one of the older Fast and Furious movies, which I would argue are right wing coded. At least in 2026, they're right wing coded. And, like, all the characters are very negative towards police officers in those movies. And I'm like, man, what happened to the right where they used to love these movies and now any movie where you show disrespect towards the cop, what's with this woke social justice shit? It's like, well, grow the fuck up. Again, I see so many of you messaging me about Facebook. I don't know what I can do to fix it because on my Facebook, I'm live. So, like, I don't even know. It says 3 people are watching me right now on my Facebook. So I genuinely don't know what to do. I don't want to cancel and restart because then that creates a whole second YouTube video, and that's more pain than it's worth. So Facebook is just going to have to take the L on this Tuesday, and I'm just never going to step outside the box technology wise again. Justin says, I have no faith in Dems to meaningfully handle fascists, which I buy that. I buy that. If anything, have you ever seen the thing where people are getting scooped up and thrown into unmarked vans? And then it'll show like Hakeem Jeffries standing there, and he'll be like, if we're going to do this, we got to make sure the vans are marked. It's like, okay, dude. Like, oh, we're going to throw them in a van that says your friendly neighborhood ICE and then drop them off in a Guatemalan prison. Like, what are we talking about right now? And I see Susan saying all cops are bad. I mean, one of my best friends is a state patrolman. Like, I realize I'm going to lose some lefty points on this, but I don't see. I've known the guy since I was 5 years old. I know how he's wired. I know how he thinks. You're not going to get me to ascribe to that, but I understand that a lot of people feel that way. That's the best way that I can answer that question right there. Um, that's my attitude at the very least. Company shipping the gloves is actually called compliant. Yeah, no, I feel that you can't be a good cop while operating in a flawed, systemically racist system. I mean, I get that the system is broken. You know what other system is broken? Media. Am I am I shit? Am I part of a system that's propagating some kind of negative narrative surrounding the population? Because that's what the media does. So, like, I think we got to think about this in a little bit more of a high-minded perspective. Um, and yeah, I do speak out about it, but it's the principle of the matter. Find me someone not part of a broken system. Exactly. Exactly. I am not advocating for the shitty stuff that police do. We should always be pushing for the betterment of the system. But um just implying that everybody partaking in the system is innately evil, I just don't buy necessarily. Um No, I don't commit acts of violence against the population, Elf. But you know what? I watched a conversation yesterday, so I'm going to be playing clips from it. El Sayed went on Fox News to pitch his platform, and Jesse Waters was a jackass the entire time. And then after the interview aired, I was watching analysis of the interview on one of the evening shows on CNN to see how the leftist networks willing to talk about those kind of things there. And they presented all of the centrist, billionaire, nonsensical talking points surrounding Medicare for all, affordability, essentially trying to convince their 65-year-old viewers that Medicare for all, despite the fact that it has been enacted in every single population, industrialized population other than ours, is somehow not achievable in America. And as we know from the Luigi situation, um, not treating people for their health ailments is just as bad as pulling the trigger in the eyes of a lot of people. So when CNN dedicates 15 minutes of primetime television to convincing their viewers that healthcare for all is unachievable, and Fox News is convincing their viewers that healthcare for all is unachievable, so that enough people vote against anybody who might be championing Medicare for all, are they not implicit of the same kind of violence that police officers are? They're just not pulling the trigger. So it's the same principle. We just don't look at it that way. And I am telling you this as a person in the media, right? If I didn't get fired, I would still be a part of that system. I didn't think that I was a bad person. I was doing what I could in my small little corner of the earth to make a positive change. And you know what's cool? After getting fired, that reach only grew. It only grew more, and I'm using my platform to do the right thing, but it doesn't mean that in another reality, you guys would view me through the same lens that you're talking about this situation. So I'm just saying we need to elevate our thinking on the matter, and simply cabbing our way around society is only going to turn people off to our message that is right, our message that is more on point than any other political party by talking this way. It's my opinion. I see some of you disagree. That's fine. That's what this show's all about. And by the way, here's a link. If anybody wants to tell me I'm an idiot, you're more than welcome to hop on. I have a guest coming on in 25 minutes, but that's my attitude. Um, Not all cops are bad. They're just human after all. It's the system that creates bad cops. I agree. All the stuff is broken. Find me someone not part of a broken system. I have a broken sleep system today. It's time to stand up to the system, take off the uniform, and become a decent human being. It's their choice to wear the uniform. No, I agree. I agree. Um, Hold on one second here. I got people messaging me on Facebook. Um, Brian says, I'm hoping, Ben, you will cover soon to be escalated path to World War III with the situation about, yeah, we'll get there. I don't think I'm going to be doing any foreign policy. Maybe at the end of the program today. It depends how long my conversation with my best guest goes at 10. Um, we'll see there. The culture of the system, but you can assimilate but or work in changing it. Absolutely, but that change doesn't happen overnight. I could have just started my career as a podcast. There was nothing stopping me from doing that. And I said no. I want to do a progressive talk show in the talk radio sphere because that's where people need to hear this message. As I often state, 1,500 out of 1,600 talk radio stations are right wing bullshit. And I said, I want to change what people think when they hear talk radio. And you know what? For 2.5 of the 3.5 years I was working there, I was the number one rated show in the market. Thinking about syndication, and I'm still intending to try and syndicate on the radio shows, although that means I can't cuss anymore. But I was making a difference, as Eljo highlights, very slowly. I was not changing the entire industry. I met pushback the entire time. Every day I would leave the studio and feel like I was walking on eggshells because I knew that a lot of people in the building fucking hated what it was that I had to say. And you know what? I think I made a little bit of a difference, but if we're being real with one another, even if I had that job for 40 years, I wasn't going to change the culture of talk radio. It's very hard to swim upstream, not for lack of trying. I have found some people that never miss a show because of the way that I carry myself when I do this show every single day. And I mean what I say what I mean, and I do my best to stand up for all communities that are um struggling right now. I passed them, Eljo. I have more than 2,000 followers than they do now, and I passed them on YouTube. Subscribe to my YouTube page if you haven't already. Um, Need to get to 1,000. We're 75 people away. We're gonna make it. God damn it. Um, but nevertheless, I that was the effort there. So I say all of that to say, I guarantee you there are police officers that are doing what I was doing. I guarantee you that was happening. That is happening. But it is an uphill battle and you are swimming against a current. And so sweeping those people, and what are they supposed to do? Quit. One listener said take the uniform off. So then what? You're going to fix the system from outside of the system. That's not how that works. It's a matter of, it's like I always say, when people when people come at me for being a landlord, I always joke and I say, well, my message doesn't sound nearly as compelling when I yell it from the gutter. It's the same principle with policing. It's the same principle with media. Um, you can't dismantle the master's system with the master's fools. I get that. And yeah, We should have a talk about the qualifications that go into policing, the act of policing in general. As I always would say on my radio show, the Joker isn't real. A lot of people's attitudes, a bunch of no offense boomers, a bunch of people over the age of 60 who have never lived in a city are very scared of the crime in the city, but they've never actually lived there, nor do they know anything about what it's like to live there. I recognize that. And for the record, I'm going to have a guest join me in 20 minutes. The police were protecting the fascist on Saturday. I think that's worth highlighting. They ultimately ended up arresting him because he drove his fucking truck into a group of counter protesters, but they were defending him at one point, and I think that's worth highlighting. But it's also technically their job. But then the question remains, had it been Black Panthers doing that, would they have been defended? Almost certainly not. But also, Black Panthers wouldn't do that. But would it happen? Probably not. We do have police officers speaking out against corruption, like Officer Justin, who's running for sheriff in Wapaka County. Great. Cops need to start questioning what they're doing. Why they were protecting Jake Lang and not the citizens. No, I agree with that. There's plenty of valid criticisms. The whole point that kind of jettisoned this off is the whole ACAB thing. And I feel like that does more harm than good. Um, I am in the business of making sure progressive and well-meaning individuals can obtain power to enact it in a way that makes all of our lives better. And when you run around A-cabbing, you are giving the Fox News crowd all the ammunition they need in order to be able to say, well, don't take these people seriously. All I'm saying. If I have to be the pragmatic one, we're in a bad place. Michael Fanone, yeah, I know he's the J6 officer, calls out those in law and Congress defending the insurrectionists. Sure. I think the cops protected Lang because, regardless of what Lang is saying, he's a citizen, and cops' role is to protect and serve everyone. If they willfully ignored counter protesters, that's a problem. I agree. Like, I just think we have to have a reasonable conversation about this kind of stuff. I'm not a cop defender. If you're a piece of shit, you're a piece of shit. But lumping everybody into one group, I think, is a disservice. I am speaking from a privileged position. Absolutely. Abso-fucking-lutely. Um, I do not have to deal with it. I've seen it firsthand, but I do not have to deal with it personally. Um, and that's real. That's absolutely real. But again, if you want to help those communities, saying that every single person is bad in an entire workforce that encapsulates millions of people isn't doing the help you think it's doing. And I would argue, as somebody who probably has more black friends than most of the people in this chat, they would tell you to cut that bullshit out. I can almost guarantee you. You know how I know that? You remember when everybody was putting black squares in their social media profiles when Black Lives Matter first took off in 2014? After the, who was it? Was it the Michael Brown shooting when that really started to catch wind? Um, I was the white guy in a group of black people, and they all mocked me and they said, "Hey, Ben, why aren't you putting the black square in your social profiles? How do we know you stand with us?" And they weren't literally mocking me, they were mocking white people through me, because they knew that a lot of the people who were putting the black squares in their profile wouldn't be caught dead partying in the places where we were partying. So the idea that I somehow don't know or am speaking out of my ass on this conversation, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm probably coming at it from a perspective that's more engaged and involved with the communities being affected than most. So that's my perspective on the matter there. Um, Now, CKK, that I can get behind. Modern police operate to protect government and upper class society. Absolutely. Why? When's the last time you've seen a police officer march out a white collar criminal for stealing people's money? You don't. You don't see that. You see them marching out somebody in the hood who stole $15 from a convenience store. You see that all the time. Like, that's a conversation I'm willing to have. Why are there not enough police officers smart enough to crack down on white collar crime? Why is it that you have a bunch of barely high school graduates? No, I'm not saying you got to go to college to be intelligent. Plenty of people in my life didn't go to college to be intelligent. Per capita, probably not that intelligent of a person. I'm just going to be real in the police force. Why is it that they don't have higher standards to get them in there to crack down on that? Why is it that we'll do cocaine busts? I don't know what word to use to not get me busted on TikTok right now. We'll call it cloak. Why is it that when police officers are grabbing cloaks, they're doing it from the hood and not from Wall Street parties? You never see a bunch of Wall Street bros getting nabbed. I'm telling you right now, it is snowing all the time on Wall Street. Like, that is that I'm down. I am here for all of that conversation. ACAB does more harm than good. Every single time, ACAB does more harm than good. It's the same way that Francesca Hong had to answer defund the police calls 6 years after the fucking fact, because these morons will run it up the flagpole all the time. And so if you want Francesca Hong to be the governor, which now she's not going to be, maybe the messaging needs to be worked on a little bit, is my point. I know a few good cops, but they should be working harder to change our opinions. I agree. I agree on all of that. Excuse me. I couldn't agree with you more. And I see KG saying white collar crooks have to steal from the rich to get busted. Absolutely. That's when they get nailed for that shit. You are 100% spot on. That's what they are there for. Um and again, Violet, I'm not even saying give them the benefit of the doubt. You're misconstruing what I'm saying. I am simply saying, labeling the entire all cops are bad. Anytime you see a cop, you just react. Because I'll tell you what, I'm even preaching from my pedestal here, and I think every member of ICE is a piece of shit. So, like, obviously, this is in me, right? I think every single person that is a member of ICE is a piece of shit. Anybody who is taking part in what ICE is doing right now is a piece of shit. And I believe that. It feels different. It feels different. And I recognize the hypocrisy of that statement. But I'm just being real. It feels different. Every single member. You know what's funny, Eljo? This is when my career first started to, like, kind of go off the, not off, quite frankly, I'd tell you, went on the rails. But from a corporate standpoint, off the rails. After the Renee Good pew-pewing, um, I had just come back. My pupils were dilated because it was a week after my LASIK surgery, and I was going for a checkup. So I have water streaming from my eyes, massive pupils. My hair is all disheveled. I come home, turn on the TV, and it's just chaos. And then I sent a message to my friend, and I said, I could breathe smoke right now. And that person responded, why? Because some woman tried to kill an ICE officer with her car. And, like, this was a good friend of mine. And seeing that message after watching the video, and I could tell right away, I did not need to wait a week to see the autopsy to know that he wasn't in any danger. You could see it in the video as soon as it happened. You were like, the fuck are you talking about? And I went on a 2-minute rant. It was the first time anything I ever did on social media ever gained traction. Um, and I started off saying fuck ICE a bunch of times. And I remember there was a version of that video where I said, spit on an ICE officer. The next time you see an ICE officer, fucking spit on him. And I am screaming into the phone, and there's just um dilation tears coming down my eyes, and like I am just I'm not, I don't have lighting, like it's just like I'm lit in a way that I look like a crazy person. Like I didn't have any capacity to understand how that looked. And I remember coming into work the next day, and as soon as I got off the air, I got called into the general, because then obviously there's a bunch of comments, and a bunch of bigots in my comments were like, well, if you don't want to if you like fuck around, find out, blah blah blah, which Jake Lang just did. And I let every single one of them have it, and they were local people, and I just reamed them out publicly. People couldn't believe the shit that I was saying. 6 months later, I don't have a job anymore. But I still stand by what I saw happen. And my whole point of that is, even in my most pissed off, frustrated mindset that I have ever been in, I still cut the video, and at one point I said spit on them, and I was like, "You know what? That's too far." And I took it out, you know? And so I'm big on actually enacting change, not saying things that make me feel good in the moment and doing more damage to a cause that I care about later. And by the way, Eljo, hold on 1 second. I'll go grab this real quick just so you can see it. Hold on. Shortly after that segment happened, a woman, and she actually might be listening. You know what sucks is she normally listens on Facebook, I'm pretty sure. And of course, this is the day I don't have Facebook up, but she freaking embroidered this for me. She made me, this used to be one of my decorations, and it will be a decoration once I move at the end of the week. But she made me a fuck ice towel, and she sent it to the radio station. And you want to know what's crazy? I wasn't even allowed to take a picture of it and share it on my personal socials. They were like, Ben, stop playing with fire. We already let you get away with it once. And I wasn't allowed to post the fuck ice towel that I have here onto my socials. Yeah, I will. But so yeah, and it's this old lady. I shouldn't describe her that way. There's this boomer who she knitted me a red hat because back in February there was a red hat resistance, like they did in one of the Scandinavian countries during the Yahtzee invasion in the early 1940s, and everybody on February 26th wore a red hat. So she sends me an email, and she's like, "Can I knit you a red hat? If you go far back enough on my YouTube page, I'm fairly certain you'll see me in the red hat doing a show." When I'm back in the radio station, but you got to go way early. It's one of the first shows I did on YouTube, I'm pretty sure. I might not even have been on YouTube yet, honestly. I don't know. But uh she knitted me the red hat, and I pull it out, and then also this comes out with it. I'm like, "Oh, this is wonderful." And I wasn't allowed to take a picture of it, and so I just draped it over my cube like this. And I just let it kind of sit there, and so anytime I cut a video or anything like that, you would see it right there. I look like a boxing trainer with that towel on my shoulder. Well, I'm pretty yoked. Yeah, I normally do. I used to have like a Batman thing, and like I would set it up every day, and then I would put the ice thing over top of it. But then I just kind of I got wrapped up in other shit. I fell out of the routine. I'm telling you, like the studios will be up next week. It's still going to take me a little bit of time to decorate them, but yeah, this will be a part of the show, as will, the Holy Trinity over there. Bernie, Jesus, and myself. So we'll cross that. Tim's great. Tim Roush is great. But I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to say that. let's just say Tim's daughter's wife might have something to say about police forces as well. I think that might be an important thing to keep in mind as well. But I'm just saying. But that was an interesting conversation for sure. I didn't expect it going that way, but I'm all right with it. I'm here for it. Um, I had other stuff planned. Honestly, my intention was to get into this whole Supreme Court conversation. We'll probably get it, depending on how long Red Witch and I go. Once she hops on in a couple minutes here, that'll probably determine um, what we get into on the other side of it there. But as Eljo says, Tim can help us flush an orange turd for sure. Uh, Violated Elf says, to be clear, I don't hate the person in the uniform. I hate the system they are forced to operate in. Absolutely. That's kind of where I'm at with it. And I'm there with a lot of things. It's why I hate media. It's why I do the job that I do. I actually was sent an email. It's a Substack article, and like from a news perspective, I read this excerpt from it last night. The things people are most concerned with right now do not show up in the daily news. They are long-term problems that have reached a breaking point. The frogs are out of the pot and hopping mad. We only learn about these by listening to real people, and we only win these voters by showing them that we are laser focused on what matters to them, not Trump, Republicans, or whatever corporate media deems relevant. And I totally agree with that sentiment. That is the attitude in which I have applied to my job, where I would argue most people are giant pieces of shit. Please understand the amount of times that I have come across moments that probably would have gone viral, but I find them to be a waste of time. I do it all the time, and I'm actually trying to unprogram myself that way because I do have to build this business a little bit. But I entered this industry saying most of the people that have my job do shit in a way that I do not agree with, and I do not want to be that. And yet the system is like, no, Ben, uh, call MAGA morons, because that way a bunch of liberals will follow your account. Be aggressive, be mean, be rage baity in your posts. And if you just inform people, people aren't going to click on your shit. It's like, well, I didn't get into this business to fucking rage bait people. It's the same principle. But do you want to be successful, or do you want to do it the way that you want to do it? And that's kind of the way that this kind of stuff works. And it's the same principles with police officers. There's the way the system works, and there's the way that you want to do it. Make Minnesota a sanctuary city. Fuck guys. Yeah. A sanctuary state, rather. Fuck guys. I feel that. Reptoid says police are only the tip of the spear. It's the laws they enforce and the orgs that shape those laws, and they are the greatest threat, in my opinion. That said, they ain't drafted cops. Make a choice, though, to join. Absolutely. And I'd argue most people that join the police force aren't like, oh, good, I finally get to be a prick to everybody. I'm sure that exists. I'm sure that absolutely is prevalent, but I want to believe most people get in there and they're like, I want to fix this. And then there's probably a bunch of levers and corporate bullshit and political stuff going on behind the scenes that we don't know shit about, that ultimately allows the system to propagate in a way that keeps us all pissed off that it exists like that. Cassidy says, when are people going to realize there's only 300 million? There's like 300 million of us, and our whole military has 2 million. Exactly. Anytime somebody tries to do, like, take your pew pews rhetoric, and like, some liberal shows up and is like, what's your AR gonna do when the government's got drones? And my answer is always, I don't know. Ask the Taliban. Right? They're still alive and kicking. Nobody's worried about that at all. So I feel that, like, I get it. Police are class traitors. I get the philosophy. Like, you guys are not breaking any news to me on that front. I am saying, in order to rectify the system, using outlandish rhetoric isn't going to do it. Punching a Nazi in the face is a more effective way to go about it than trying to build a political platform demonizing an entire occupation. Signed, Ben. I'm leaving the ACAB people alone. This was an active chat today. I didn't see this coming. I felt cornered at times, but I think I handled my own. Um, all right. So we are waiting any moment here for Emily to join us backstage. I'm sure she'll hop on in a second. Yeah, I'd love to get her on. She's got to punch the code in. And as soon as I see her backstage, I will bring her up here. And we can keep it rolling from there. But so we're going to be hearing a little bit about what was even going on at this protest, the general vibe, the reaction to what is going on there. For all I know, she's going to say all cops are bad. And for the record, anybody's allowed to say whatever they want on this show outside of hateful shit. I am tolerant of anything except the intolerant. Um, so it should be interesting to hear the rhetoric there. It's perfectly fine if they try to run you down in the street with the car. I agree. I agree, Juba. Oh yeah, I like what's crazy, Justin, is that Daredevil season came out before like the Renee or it was being filmed before the Renee Good and Alex Preddy stuff even happened. And the fact that Daredevil felt like they made it after that happened, like that's how prescient it was. Mind blowing. Like, not that it was impossible to see where this ice garbage was inevitably going to lead us, but the principles still hold firm there. Um, yeah, Eljo, can you find out where she's at? Because I don't want to start a new topic here if she's going to join in like 2 minutes, but I'm kind of in a holding pattern right now, so I gotta get moving here. Um, thank you, Violet. She says she can be relentless, but I held my own. Um, the only thing the Taliban are tougher than are the goats that they are. No, it's absolutely fine. Um, no, didn't you hear CKK? The Taliban is woke now, so they're actually our allies. They're cool with gay people. So now the last 20 years, turns out we were wrong. Turns out we could have just used some basic common decency to get them to see the LGBTQ community as human. It's funny how that shit works. I'm telling you, like somebody cut this and save it somewhere that they'll be able to pull it out in 20 years long after I've been arrested. At one point, we'll be enemies with Ukraine. Like we will be as an enemy of America, much like how we used to coordinate with Osama bin Laden and do all those things with him. Inevitably, that is where this Ukrainian story is heading. I'm calling my shot now because it plays out in American history over and over again. Look at the Kurds, look at the Taliban, bin Laden, fill in the blank, right? It always happens. It happens over and over and over again. ISIS. It's absolutely nonsense. The Taliban are being slapped around, but like look it up, CKK. They're friends with the American government now. Like, hold on, while we're waiting for Emily, we'll just jump into this real quick. Are the Taliban good or let's see what happens there. Okay. Um Oh, the War Front's YouTube channel has been covering that. Yeah, I have. So Cynthia, who I'm hoping to bring back on the show soon, she's very in touch with a lot of foreign policy stuff that we oftentimes talk about on this show. And we would always crack up about that kind of shit because we fought a 20-year war because they were so evil. And then overnight we were like, oh, actually, they're kind of woke now. It's all right. Yeah, Zelensky's corrupt as shit. I'm telling you guys, we are inevitably headed to reality. It's not going to be while this war is going on. It's all going to be put to bed. It's going to be after Russia is no longer a threat to America in any way. And then all of a sudden, there's going to be a political push to be like, what about the corruption in Ukraine? There's Emily getting ready to hop on the chat here now. We're gonna keep this rolling. So as I've been highlighting here, on Saturday, and I feel bad that I dropped the ball on this on Monday. Between moving and painting my studio and doing all this shit, I kind of fell behind on some of the big stories. Superheroes do exist. I always wanted it to be true, as you can see from behind me, and here we are finding out that that is in fact the case. I, of course, was not there. We're going to get some eyewitness testimony. For those of you on TikTok, you'll be able to hear this conversation for today. YouTube, here is Emily, aka the Red Witch, who is joining us from, I think, somewhere in Minnesota. What's happening, Emily? Thanks for being here.
Hi, yeah.
And we lost her.
Hello?
Okay. Can you hear me? Okay, good. There you are. All we heard was hi, yeah. That's all we heard from you there.
Hi, sorry about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm joining you from Minneapolis. How are you?
Just great, just great. So I appreciate you coming on to talk with us here because obviously tumultuous time right now, a little bit with the way this administration operates, not to give Democrats any leeway, but MAGA's in a league of their own. Speaking out about this kind of stuff is, it's a cause for concern for sure. So let's hear a little bit about you first before we get into the specifics of the day. You're active in the activism scene, yeah? Like this isn't your first rodeo, as they say.
Right, yeah. Around Minnesota, I just say I'm a Whipple person, and people tend to understand. Whipple is the federal building, a federal kind of administrative, for the most part, building with a jail underneath. That is the immigration hub for 5 states. And so I've spent a lot of time there, facing off with ICE and things like that. I've gone to Delaney. I've done a lot of other activism as well. So yeah, definitely not my first rodeo, although before this winter I hadn't been maced or anything before. But, you know, I only got a little spicy on Saturday. Some of my friends got a lot of spicy, but I only got a little spicy on Saturday.
Yeah. And you're a Wisconsinite originally, yeah?
Yeah, I'm from northwestern Wisconsin, and but I think I saw you're from Appleton.
I'm in Appleton. I'm from
You're in
Pittsburgh. Yeah.
You're in. Oh, okay. Well, you're in Appleton. I lived in Appleton for a couple of years. So.
Oh, right on. Yeah, no, I mean, I love Minneapolis as a town. I don't blame you for getting over there for a second, but yeah. So you're saying it there, and by the way, Elf, who's listening out in California, says another left-leaning queen. Fucking love all these strong, outspoken women that come on this show. So you've added your name to a list here, which is absolutely awesome. So I mean, you kind of intimated it there. You got maced. How did we get there? Why were you there to begin with? What led us to that outcome?
Right. Well, I got to know Jake Lang from him coming to Whipple.
Yeah.
And Caden.
We'll get into him.
Yeah, and his other boys, what is it? Jaden and I don't know. I'm bad at remembering their names. I'm better at faces, but I'm like, oh, I know these guys. So when I saw they were coming to town, I'm not gonna go. I was not feeling well on the last one, and I wasn't able to be there. But this one, I was like, we got to go face the Nazis. So that's how I got there.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the city felt very similarly when Minneapolis sees this kind of thing, this kind of hate come into the city. We're not just going to sit down and take it. We are going to let you know that that is not acceptable here and that we love all of our neighbors.
Yeah, Minnesota has really shown out in 2026. I think you guys have nothing but pride that you should feel in the way that you've kind of pushed back. You're almost ground zero for a lot of this kind of stuff. And I was sharing, I don't know if you were on the stream before, but so basically I was working in talk radio up until June of this year. And then I got let go for being outspoken, specifically because I went on my fuck ice rants that I oftentimes go with. This is actually a gift from a boomer. She made this for me because
that's awesome.
I popped off in ways that I normally don't do. I'm normally pretty calculated in the way that I present things and the way the things have been playing out with that organization over the course of the last, realistically, its entire existence, but more brazenly in the last 8 to 12 months has been obscene. So Jake Lang was showing up. What was his pretend purpose? Because I'm not willing to give him the benefit of the doubt and say that he's ever actually behaving in good faith, because I know his type. What was his purpose for being there?
Oh, well, he was holding an N-word march.
Okay.
That's what he titled it, and he went with the full word spelled out on his poster. So he was holding an N-word march in Minneapolis because there was a woman who called a child the N-word and had to go to court over it. And she was supposed to come be a guest speaker or something, but didn't appear to be there. But yeah, so we're not going to see someone say, we're going to come hold an N-word march in your city and not show up. And I think he knew that. I think he likes this a little bit.
I would agree. I think these people, it's kind of wildly familiar. I'm not super online, but there was a woman who would have had a cooking TikTok, and she let an N-word slip, and I swear to God it was intentional, because as soon as she got the hate, there was a GoFundMe worth 6 figures on the other side of it, funded by the Jake Lang types. And these guys realized, Morgan Wallen, there was an effort. He's one of the largest selling artists out there right now, because he said the N-word. Like it's literally like these guys are like, no, we're done being pushed around. We love that you said it. And like in this capitalist society we have chosen to create for ourselves, there's a lot of people out there that are willing to exploit that fact with these morons. And what kind of turnout was there pro Lang, out of curiosity?
The guy's in his truck.
That's it.
That's literally it.
Yeah.
The
Okay.
guy's in his truck and his paid security. Oh, and our paid security, which is the police that did security for them.
Yeah. Yeah. Which, so how close were you to the truck? Because that's the way it's being portrayed, right? He kind of drove the truck through the counter protesters, which is what elicited what we'll get to the main event here in a second here. But that's what kind of elicited what ultimately ended up happening there. What was
Right.
that all like?
So there were two sides. When we first got there, the police had already put up, metal barricades on both sides of the street. And typically, as far as I'm aware, that's usually like, okay, we're going to have protesters for this on one side and the counter protesters on the other side. So when I got there, I was like, okay, which side are we on? And they're like, both sides. And I was like, okay, so we're on both sides, but it's barricaded, so we can't like go between okay. It just seemed kind of weird.
Mhm.
But I picked a side, and as far as we knew, he was either gonna march up on one of the sides or go down the street in his truck, right? That's what would make sense. So I picked a side and I went down to where the Black Lives Matter leaders were speaking, along with PACAT leaders. And they were, leading a protest saying that Black Lives Matter here and we're not going to put up with hate. And then all of a sudden, um, one of the Righteous 39, some people indicted here in Minnesota, and many of them are also Black Lives Matter leaders, kind of yelled out, "All right, well, Jake Lang is driving is driving his truck onto the other side of the street, and we're gonna go meet him. Buckle up." I thought it was really funny when he said "buckle up," and because he was right. And so that's when we realized, Jake Lang was turning. He was going onto the other side of the street. So initially, I wasn't very close, but you could see that they were turning onto a barricaded sidewalk. The entire sidewalk was barricaded, and they were driving directly toward a crowd on the sidewalk. And they had a vehicle with a blue and red light bar driving behind the truck. And then pretty quickly, a guy dressed like ICE got out of the vehicle with red and blue flashing lights, which to me seems like impersonating a federal agent. I don't know, but to
Yeah.
me seems like impersonating a federal agent. Got out of the truck and um, I only felt it, but I felt it all the way across the street, which says something. Like immediately we were like, are they gassing? Because I've never gotten maced the way that we did all the way across the street like that. So the amount of, I don't think they ended up gassing. I think it ended up all being mace from what we could find. They just released so much of it into the air that the entire block turned toxic. And, you know, we could just kind of see people both running away and going in, because when you do like something like that to a crowd, you're going to piss people off. And reviewing the video, you can see that they never gave any warning that they were going to mace, which is illegal. And they straight up just unloaded a can into the air, it looked like, with no, not pointing it, just into the air so that it would mace the entire area. And then as the truck kind of progressed, I think Spider-Man was the first one to start pulling barricades down possibly, but people started moving the barricades to try to block the truck and to try to open up the area because, again, this truck is driving down a barricaded sidewalk. So there's not really anywhere except for toward the truck or out the other end that people can go. And so people started removing barricades. And at that point, I was able to make it across the street and kind of get up behind the truck and watch everything. And Spider-Man was kind of everywhere. Before Jake Lang had even showed up, he had, come and run around the protest. And a couple of us had been like, is he one of them? Because it would be really easy for a right-wing guy to like put on a bunch of, costume and go run around our protest and then go do whatever he's going to do. He could gain intelligence, whatever he needs to do, and then run off. So we were like, what's he doing? And when he jumped on the car, we were like, oh, he's fine. But when we saw him in action, that was insane. And so I'm just thankful that he stole the show from Jake Lang, because Jake Lang was coming to make a moment. And instead we had this literal comic book hero come take to the streets and do what everyone wishes they could do. Yeah. And I'm not a person that's like for violence, but I do believe in the paradox of tolerance, where you cannot be tolerant of intolerant people. And these people have continued to show up and show that they are intolerant.
Which is how I started the show today, by the way. Go on.
Good. Yes.
Sorry to interrupt. Carry on.
No, you're good. You're good. But I mean, so I think Spider-Man showed up and did what we all wished we could do. And so we're definitely in support of him. And we all got really, really mad when he was detained and at the police's response. Because it's hard for cops to surprise me at this point, honestly. But watching a vehicle turn onto a barricaded sidewalk and then someone getting out and macing everyone in the crowd of the sidewalk that they just turned onto, and then having police protection to continue down the barricaded sidewalk, was further than I was even willing to believe the police would go to protect them.
Yeah.
And there was actually a right-wing influencer that they straight up pulled inside the courthouse to protect. And they pulled him inside the police barricades, inside the courthouse after Jake Lang had left, because Jake doesn't like him either. He's like too low-hanging fruit and kind of too dumb even for Jake. And so the police are like, oh no, protect him. So they just shuffled him in the courthouse and out another door. But yeah, it was honestly an insane situation, and it was really hard to keep track of. I just remember seeing a lot of my friends get maced and beat by batons. And I'm honestly thankful that someone was willing to come be the superhero that we needed and steal the spotlight.
Yeah, and I'm glad you came out of it all right as well. Let me ask for further clarification because so I looked up what this was only because I met you, but you mentioned the Righteous 39 there, and I don't know that that's as well known within the audience, especially in my audience. And like, why don't you let the listeners know like what that is and why that gives a little bit more clout to the situation here? Because, like I said, you've been around a little bit.
Right. So here in Minnesota, we actually have two federal indictments ongoing from the Metro Surge ICE occupation. And the one that I referenced of the Righteous 39 is 39 people who protested at David Easterwood's church. David Easterwood is the head of the regional ICE. He's the regional director for ICE for 5 states, and he's a pastor at City's Church in St. Paul. And he was the head of everything when Renee Good was murdered, when Alex Preddy was murdered, when I got a gun pointed in my face, when a lot of other people I know got guns pointed in their faces, while they abducted US citizens, knowing that they were US citizens and being like, well, what's the big deal? We're just going to release them anyway if they're citizens. The big deal is you violently took human beings.
Right.
So these 39 people went and protested inside a church. They were led in part by Nakima Levy Armstrong, who is both a faith leader and an attorney. And she started questioning the pastor, and he just started yelling shame, at which point they started chanting and then eventually marched out. So they have been federally indicted for this. And then later today, I'm actually going to a Minnesota 15 court hearing. And the Minnesota 15 were indicted for their anti-ICE activities for allegedly trying to impede or obstruct ICE. And so they have a court hearing today where they're contesting the no contact conditions because the 15 of them cannot currently talk to each other. And then later this week, they have a hearing regarding a motion that was filed on discovery that revealed very widespread surveillance and subpoenaing of financials of organizations throughout the Twin Cities regarding these indictments. So we in Minnesota, and specifically in the Twin Cities, in the past 6 to 10 months, we saw more than 3,000 federal agents flood our city. That's more than 3 times what they initially sent to Afghanistan to occupy a country. And so we're mad, and we got very used to being loud to protect our neighbors and putting our bodies in the way to stop straight up kidnapping, because we could tell them and you could show them that this person had a passport card and they wouldn't care. I was there when they took a US citizen, and they knew they took a US citizen, and they did have to release him, but they maced an entire community to do it anyway. So we're not scared of putting our bodies on the line to stand up for what we believe in. And that's what you saw on Saturday, is just a continuation of us putting our bodies on the line for the people who we very much care about and are facing oppression both from the government and from racists and bigots.
Yeah, I mean, I think the clip that's getting a lot of the attention today is these two women. I'm not even sure what state they're in. They're legally seeking asylum. They're at a hospital and they're being dragged out of their beds, crying and screaming. Like it's actually, I have not seen the whole.
I've seen that one. Yeah.
That's how rough it is, and it's like in Minneapolis, like I said, you guys are kind of ground zero, patient zero, whatever the right way to say it is, and it's because, to be frank, and I have been on the record back when I was in radio as well as on the podcast now, it's because Trump knows you're never going to vote for a Republican. So what real damage is being done from his perspective by doing this in Minneapolis, by doing this in Minnesota? And if it weren't for people willing to step the fuck up and do something about it, they'd probably get away with it, which is a pretty devastating reality. How can the people listening here, is there a way from afar that you guys can be helped, like your efforts, not you specifically, any groups you run with, anything like that? What's the way that people who might not be in Minneapolis might be able to contribute to Minneapolis's plight in some way?
Oh, thank you so much. Well, so personally, I'm a part of Minnesota 5051, and um, which is an org that did a lot of on the ground stuff during the occupation. They made sure that we had medics every single day in the streets. They made sure that, which is important, when you're getting tear gassed and maced every day, you need medics on scene. So that was incredible. That was vital. They made sure that people had whistle kits and things like that. So a donation to Minnesota 5051 is always helpful. And they'll also partner with, other orgs. Otherwise, MIRAC Minnesota, MIRAC. They're an immigrants' rights organization that is helping people. Also, if you just kind of follow activists or creators like myself and others from Minnesota, we'll post mutual aid asks because this is an ongoing thing. Metro Surge took an incredible amount of money out of our economy. And there are some immigrant people, vulnerable people that are still living in a lot of fear. And a lot of them temporarily lost a partner to detainment or are still facing having a partner or a parent in detainment. And they need money to make rent, to get food. People are left without their partners to be able to, raise children and have a home over their heads. So really, if you can just keep an eye out for like mutual aid asks and stuff like that, that's important. Also, if you would go follow the Minnesota 15 social medias, it's Minnesota.15 on every platform. And they do have a Chuffed account that you can donate to for their legal defense. This is going to be a long, ongoing process. And unfortunately, we do, for the most part, need money to keep the people on the ground who have been on the ground going and keep the families who have been impacted either by the actions of the government against their people or the actions against them for repression for standing up. We need to keep them supported. And since a lot of attention has left after the surge, we've been left to deal with a lot of the fallout alone. And we appreciated all of the support that we had this winter, but we still need some. And so anything people are willing to contribute to, again, like an immigrants' rights organization such as MIRAC, MIRAC, or a nonprofit such as Minnesota 5051 would be really, really helpful.
It's a shitty situation, but your story is very inspirational. So thank you for what you and so many others are doing in your region there. And I'm gonna be keeping tabs on what you guys are doing. You have my contact now, so anytime you need a bullhorn for anything like that, this show's only getting bigger. So I mean, we'll be reaching a larger and larger percentage. So thank you for coming on, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you so much, Ben. Have a great day.
Yeah, you too. Bye. Um, Yeah, and thanks to everybody who helped set that up as well. Eljo, Susan, Sons of Liberty is a great group there. You can check them out on Facebook, and I'm sure plenty of other places as well. Um, so check out Sons of Liberty. Check out everything that they're talking about there because I think it's worth highlighting. Again, I am not a violent dude. I can't be. Have you seen my arms? Like I shouldn't be. But that doesn't change the fact that sometimes the right thing needs to happen. And I know that there's going to be MAGAs out there that are going to cry and play victim. And I know that Jake Lang's whole MO is crying and playing victim. And I know that Donald Trump's whole MO is crying and playing victim. And you do have to keep that in mind in these moments, but it doesn't change the fact that what's right is right. And if you want to go do an N word march, I sure as hell can't physically prevent you from doing it, but there's going to be some outcomes from that. And you don't get to be surprised when it happens. Violet says Jake Lang is a potato head. As a human potato, I take offense to that. That's actually a slur for my people. So don't ever say that again. Spider-Man absolutely can do the fighting for me. And we got a new thank you for the follow. King David, narcs are the biggest victims. Yeah, you're not wrong. Oh, no, Kristen said that. I apologize. Kristen said narcs are the biggest victims. They do tend to cry foul quite a bit, don't they? That's a bit frustrating. And by the way, D, I saw you pop in. I'm glad you found your way over to YouTube. Facebook will be up tomorrow. I unfortunately experimented. I blame Justin. If we're going to blame anybody, we should blame Justin for this because he said schedule it and then post it to your Facebook that it's coming up. And I was like, brilliant idea. And it turns out that when you do that, it just doesn't go live on Facebook. So even though it says it goes live on Facebook. What's up, Rich? Welcome to the party. And anybody who's new, who joined for Emily, I'm trying to monetize YouTube. So if anybody could click that subscribe button, you'd go a long way towards helping me out if you haven't already. But absolutely wonderful interview. I had never spoken to her. And I trust Eljo and her sense of what would be good for this show and what wouldn't be. But I got to say, I normally vet the people that come on, get a feel for how they will sound on the show before I bring them on. And I kind of rolled the dice here. And I have to say that was one of the fastest half hours of this show that I have ever done. So I genuinely appreciate the help setting that up and Emily for taking time out of her day to join. Justin is trying to defend himself, even though OGD says blame Todd and Dale. I'll always blame Todd and Dale. Todd Pingle signed me up for freaking Pornhub yesterday. I got it in my spam emails, but I have to verify it. So I didn't obviously open the email. But he's trying to get back at me because I figured out his real name. It's not Todd. I'm not going to say it because I don't want to poke the bear right now, and I think it might be over. But let's just say he done goofed. He sent me one too many emails and actually didn't send one from, and accidentally didn't send one from the anonymous one. So I got you pegged, you son of a bitch. Keep playing with fire. See what happens. Justin says, oh, I didn't say schedule your Facebook live stream at all. I suggested you post about your upcoming YouTube stream and post that in the comments. I don't remember it being that way. Lang's armored plate carrier looked empty from the photos I've seen, convinced they cosplay for intimidation. I agree. I mean, he was wearing full riot garb, was he not? Like he was dressed for this kind of shit. Yeah, I was regretting that I said you lied, and I was like, he texted that to me, didn't he? There's definitely a record, but whatever, you know. Jake Lang is a turd. Flush it. And if it doesn't go down, call Tim Roush, says Harambe. I fucking love you, dude. Brian says throwing people under the bus is your good look. Poor Justin. Yeah, you know, I'm quick to do it. I'm 5% Trump. I warn you guys about this all the time. I try to give you guys a heads up that I'm 5% Trump. And you guys then all of a sudden you're like, why is Ben reflecting Trumpian principles? I told you guys what I am, and so I immediately, not my fault. Must be Natalie. So there's like 5 other topics that I intend to get into today. What are we thinking? We thinking tariff war with Canada? I saw Old Lib was upset about that one. We've got just absolutely, I have 6 different metrics by which, oh, by the way, anybody who wants to join and have comments about what Emily said, I welcome anybody on the show. I'm posting the link in the YouTube chat. Just punch that into your browser. You don't even have to use a camera. You can just use your voice. Blue Dragon says, thanks for a great interview that you're not going to hear on regular media. Oh, that's very nice. I appreciate that. And you're right. You're right. You know what sucks? And I've been reconciling with this quite a bit. Can I have a human moment? Can we do human moment for a second here, and then I'll get into the news? I have been reflecting lately, and I've said this to the people close to me, that it took me being fired to realize that I was in a bit of a depression that I didn't even realize that I was in while it was happening. Because in a lot of ways, I was living my dream job, right? Like I always wanted to be on radio. I was hosting a show where I technically wasn't being told what to say, but I was reining myself in. And I gotta say, it has been almost exactly 2 months since my firing, and I have met so many more people, done more impactful media, actually feel like this show is starting to build towards making the actual difference that I wanted it to make when it was on traditional media. And that's because all of you guys keeping me going. And like, genuinely, you're right. This show wouldn't, that interview wouldn't have even happened on Outside the Box on the radio, because I would have been like, my listeners really want to hear this right now, and I'd have to think about the station's reputation and all these other things that would go along with it. And like, should I be advocating for punching Nazi Yahtzees on FCC airwaves? And like, now I can just be like, fuck that guy, punch him in the face. I'm not going to punch him. I'm not encouraging violence, but if that's your style of handling people that want to do N-word marches, you do you. And like, yeah, it wouldn't fly in traditional media. And I'm not even saying that from my pedestal upon which I oftentimes operate surrounding traditional media. But like, it's real. Wait, what? I'm not saying the name, Lorelai. Destiny's Child did it better. You don't click the link here. I'll post it again. You just punch the link into your browser like any other web address, and then it'll ask you to put your name. You can put a fake name. You can do anything. If you don't want your camera, watch. I'm pretty sure if I click this, you guys will still be able to hear my voice, even though you can't see me anymore. And then you can just do it this way if you're uncomfortable with your face being seen on camera. So, you have all the controls right in front of you there. So if anybody wants to come on and would prefer to maintain anonymity, it's very straightforward. I see Susan trying to hop on. There it is right there. It's just the top of your forehead, Susan. Is that the way? Okay, there we go. All right, hold on. I'm going to bring you on stage now. Get ready. What's up, Susan?
Hey, hi. I was at the rally also with Redwidge.
All right, what's on your mind?
There's a strong rumor going around that Jake Lang's wallet got flown out of his pocket and someone found it. And don't you need your driver's license to get on a plane or your passport? So your driver's license, they all have that new thing now where you can fly in the lower 48. You can't get on a plane without a driver's license, can you?
Probably not. But I don't know. Is there a system in place where like if you lose the shit, like are you just stranded for weeks? Like that can't be right. Like I'm sure they probably have a means to fix that situation.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never flown, so I mean I haven't flown since I was 10 years old, so
sure.
But if his wallet is gone, how's he going to be able to get home?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely going to be an issue there for sure, but I don't know enough about that. I know I procrastinated. I remember because you need a real ID to fly in Wisconsin now. And
Yeah.
I pressed it right up to the deadline because I thought they produced your license for you right there on the fly. And
Oh no.
yeah, we'll mail it to you in 2 weeks. I said, well, I'm flying in 9 days. And they said, well, here's a paper form. And I show up to the airport with a paper license. And they say, you know, you had 19 years to get this done. And I looked at him and said, well, it looks like I needed 19 years and 2 weeks, doesn't it?
Wow.
And they let me fly with the paper license. So that's my only experience with not having a valid license and trying to fly.
Well, just a warning to the Minnesotans then, if Jake can't fly home, he may be hanging around for a while trying to figure out how he's going to get home. He might show up at the federal places like the Whipple because they'll be bored.
Could definitely happen. But it's interesting for sure. But I appreciate the tidbit, Susan. I'm glad you joined. Hopefully you'll keep listening, all right?
All right, thanks. Yeah.
Yep, take it easy. Those dummies should have syndicated you while they had the chance. You're going to go way further without them. Ben Unleashed. I appreciate that, Blue Dragon. I'm sure as shit trying. It feels stronger. It feels good. I'm passing them up in followers and everything. I hope no hotels let him stay. You know, one of those fucking places is going to be run by a MAGA that'll jump at the opportunity to take part in some kind of bullshit, right? So we'll see what happens. But yeah, I hope his life is made miserable for the foreseeable future. Can't rent a U-Haul without an ID either. Maybe he's got to drive that heavy ass truck. Where's he even coming from? Do we even know what state he's from? But I don't know. I hope he gets stuck in Minnesota forever. LOL. Maybe he'll crash with Gamer Violet. I should send them a thank you card for the contribution to my new chapter. I appreciate that, Moondog. You're the man. Couldn't expand working under the man. But yeah, so in any event, we'll continue following along with that as it develops. It's crazy, and again, I feel like that's actually a good segue. I feel like this is probably the best way to end these kind of conversations. As I said, I'm gonna have to say a thing. Like I'm doing a genuine trigger warning right here because I'm gonna say a word that I don't use in my regular life, but just to prove a point. As I've kind of been highlighting for you guys, the statistics I'm using, let me bring them up here. Gas is above $4 a gallon. Manufacturing employment has come to a complete standstill post Biden. Healthcare premiums are jumping 26%. The deficit has been growing both years under Trump, and based on the policies that have been enacted, they are set to continue ballooning the deficit all the way through 2034. Medicaid cuts are getting bigger every year, also projected to go all the way until 2034. And the economy, in terms of growth, is slowing to a halt. All of these things were trending in the appropriate direction prior to Trump's arrival and have fallen off a cliff since he has been the president here. So Pete Hegseth goes in front of Oshkosh Truck yesterday and says, "We're here for training," or excuse me, "no more trannies, just training," is the way that he described it. Because MAGA is at this point, anybody still supporting it is comprised mostly of bigots that don't have a grasp on why it is that their life is in the situation that it is in right now. Clearly, the intention is between Islamophobia and transphobia. That is what the MAGA movement is going to bank on in 2026. Now, I'm going to say more people than I would prefer are going to vote for that, but it's not going to be nearly enough. And if you haven't seen any of this interview, I grabbed a couple of clips off of the Twitter, but you guys should go and find the entire interview and watch it, because I did, because I give credit. Everybody always gives credit to Pete Buttigieg for going on Fox News and doing his thing. And don't get me wrong, dude's a ninja. He pisses me off in a lot of ways, but mentally, verbally, the dude is incredible. Especially when he goes on Fox News. He makes these people look like morons. For instance, for some reason, I know that this is going to work on some people that are out there. But while Pete Hegseth and the Trump administration wants to scare you of transgender people, as Jay says, trans, abortion, and immigrants, oh my. They want you scared of al-Sayed for being a Muslim. You tell me, and I realize I'm a bit preaching to the choir here about this, but you tell me which message feels stronger to you of the two. Because Jake Lang is an extension of Fox News. I am not saying Fox News endorses Jake Lang. I am saying by doing an N-word march, you are compelling people to contribute media hours, man hours, conversation to a march that quite frankly wouldn't have gotten much airtime if it weren't for Spider-Man coming and handling business. But at a time when Republicans are going to try and lean into that bullshit to try and distract you, listen to what's going on Fox News for all of our grandparents to hear.
What are you going to do with more money? I mean, whatever I want.
I mean, Jesse, I don't know how much you make.
Look, not $1 billion.
I think I'd rather have Well, yeah, look, so that's exactly it, right? The question ultimately is, do you want to drive on good roads, or would you rather have a billionaire make a second billion? That's what Mike Rogers wants. That's what Donald Trump wants. Apparently, that's what you want. I think the people in Michigan want something different. They want good roads and good schools.
So you're saying, Beyonce, who just became a billionaire, she has to break you off something every year? She has to pay the politicians?
It's not me. It's the American public.
You're
Beyonce,
the one that wants the money.
To be able to contribute back to the public schools that she went to.
How defensive
I think
does
she'd be
he sound?
happy to invest in good roads in her community. I think she'd be happy to pay a little bit more so that everybody had a little bit more.
You're reaching a little deep into the pockets.
To be defending billionaires from your channel, Jesse. That's a crazy thing. I thought you were for. I'm just saying. Look, at the end of the day, I thought you were for the everyday man. Like if you're for billionaires more than you're for every other person, well, you and I are just going to disagree.
No, I just think I have the right to the fruits of my own labor. That's America. It's not communist, what you're talking about.
No, the problem
Let me ask you about socialized health care.
Billionaires don't make money. Let me just answer the question.
Sure.
No, let me go back to that.
Go ahead.
Billionaires don't make their money off of their labor. That, I think, is where you head off. Billionaires that make their money off their money. So if you have $1 billion, your billion makes another 100 million. That's not the fruits of your labor. That's just the fruits of your money making money. I think it's okay. Like if we tax you at 7%, you're still gonna make what, a cool $30 million off your $1 billion. I think it's okay. They're gonna be okay, Jesse.
Yeah, I just don't like the idea of politicians like you capping how much money people make in America. That's just me. We can have the voters in Michigan decide.
For the record, he also misspoke. If you taxed $1 billion at 70%, that would be $300 million, not $30 million. So you'd be fucking fine. And then you'd actually have roads. So somebody get this man a body bag. He could not defend himself there at all. So now, much shorter clip here, they get into defense spending because Jesse's so worried about where your tax dollars are going. I think he said 7 and meant 70. I think he might have let the live TV nerves get the best of him there, Eljo. But I think I know what he meant. But that's just me. So let's get into where the money's going then.
See, rather than on the side of everyday Michiganders.
No, because
rather than on the side of everyday Michiganders.
No, because I don't want you guys to blow the country up. Do you know how much the federal budget is now?
No, neither do I. Here's exactly
What's the federal budget?
You guys want to, right? Pete Hegseth, who used to
Abdul,
work
answer
for
the question. Do you know what the federal budget is?
To raise. No. I just want to talk about this. Look, you want to talk about budgets? I'm happy to do that. The guy who used to work on your channel, I think he was like the 6th host on the 5. He wanted to raise our military budget to $1.5 trillion, and you don't seem to be upset about that. What? So we can fight a war we don't know how to get out of? To raise our gas prices $5 a gallon? That doesn't make sense to me, Jesse. We want to talk.
You tell me who you think's coming out of this. I see Justin agreeing with Jesse's viewpoint. Billionaires should want to help, not necessarily be forced to help. On the other hand, they would still make a ton of fucking money, so cry more. Exactly. And like I said to someone else earlier, or maybe it might have been last week, if ifs and buts were candies and nuts, we'd all have a Merry Christmas. Billionaires don't want to contribute more. They would rather feed you literal poison for food if it meant they got to make a couple extra bucks on the back end of it there. And now where it really goes. And for the record, I don't know that I necessarily agree with the pivot that El Sayed makes here. I think it is a bit touch and go. But his overarching point is right. Do you believe, actually, is this the longer clip up here? You know what? I don't want to play a full fucking 4 minutes of this. I'm not doing that. This is, of course, they're coming to trans your kids on Fox News for the billionth time while he's trying to tell you about healthcare for all and all the ways. Actually, maybe I should play the clip. Gut decision. No, I'm not gonna. We're just gonna do this one. All right.
The idea that the government shouldn't tell you what kind of healthcare you should have. I just think the government shouldn't tell you what kind of health care you should have. And if you're a minor,
you want to try on kids?
Now, if you disagree with that, if you disagree that healthcare decisions need to be made by a doctor and their parents and a patient, then we think we agree to disagree. But, you want to put government inside.
So, Abdul, you're a doctor, right?
Selectively. I am.
So you think it's okay for a parent to slash his kid's thing-a-ling off? You think that's okay?
I mean, do you really want to have this conversation? Are you circumcised?
Yeah, but I mean, that's a Jesse, personal question.
Okay,
doctor.
So you probably should want to move on.
A circumcision's different than castration.
I think it's a problem. It's a problem that you think that you get to decide what happens between a parent, a doctor, and a patient. And I'm just saying that, yes, circumcision is surgery on a kid's ding-a-ling. So if you really want to bring that up, you can. I just think you guys are really selective about how you want to talk about these things.
Abdul, Michigan's not going for that. That is sick stuff.
I personally, as I have stated 1,000 times over, believe it should be the parents' decision. And if Jesse Waters wants to try and bring the government into my decisions of what I want to do with my family, well, it looks like I'm just one of those small government progressives that Republicans try to warn you about so much. Notice how El Sayed's main campaign stumping grounds surround Medicare for all. It surrounds getting big money out of politics. It surrounds getting money back into the pockets of the average person. He doesn't want to talk about any of that. He wants to warn you they're coming to trans your kids. And that's it. And of course, again, that will work on the 65 plus crowd. The welfare generation, as I call them, because boomers started their life at a time when the tax rate was at 70%. The same thing that Jesse is now trying to convince those same Americans that is completely unfeasible. Isn't it ironic how that works out? And then inevitably Brian from Fremont is going to text me and tell me that I don't know what I'm talking about on this front, but I absolutely do. And that's the issue there. And what's up, Sensei and Robin? Thank you for joining the chat. Don't go there, Ben. I've already gone there. Brian, true or false? Jesse Waters right there in the previous video, not that one, was telling El Sayed, you want to tax billionaires at 70%? That's my money. The bulk of Fox News' audience, me notwithstanding because I hate myself, the bulk of Fox News' audience started their life at a time when billionaires were taxed at 70%. Fuck billionaires. Anybody making more than $2 million in today's dollars were taxed at 70%. Nobody's even calling for that. They're talking about billionaires. The equivalent in the boomers era of starting their life, $2 million in today's America was taxed between 70 and 91%, depending on your age. That's not my opinion. I'm not even saying we have to move it that high again, although I am. But I'm not even saying that I have to move it that high again. I'm just saying that that's the way that it was. And the idea that anybody watching that interview who's in their 60s or 70s would watch that and be like, what's this socialist? What's this Shakira Law socialist saying to me right now? That's how you were raised. Don't get mad at me. I'm just over here breaking it down how it was. All right? Don't pew-pew the messenger, as it were, although I do have a musket loaded specifically for messengers. That's the only thing I pew-pew. It's 70% of everything over $1 billion, and they're crying they got $1 billion. I'll be real, like, I don't know what is actually being proposed. I know, Anthony. But I don't know what's actually being proposed. But you know what? Since we're doing a like half and half Minnesota show today, former governor of Minnesota, Jesse Ventura, who won as a libertarian, had the platform, you shouldn't be able to make more than $100 million a year. Anything over $100 million goes back into the system and props up everybody else who's trying to make it live. And anybody who's mad about not being able to make more than $100 million is more than welcome to go to another country where they think it would be easier. That's coming from a libertarian, right? I'm here for that platform. Oh God, Sensei, I missed that you said. I thought it just said we need billionaires. I'm like, who hacked Sensei's account? But we need a fuck billionaires shirt. Jay, you listening? Although Jay did give me the first design for a shirt. Yeah, we're working on it. We're working on it. We got things cooking right now. Don't you worry. I'm expecting all you guys to buy these shirts once I make them. They're going to be expensive. Yeah, I know. Sensei would never. Wait, what did Reptoid say? Oh, yeah. Juba loved the Are You Circumcised? Yeah, I have a musket. Billionaires make money off of the backs of their employees. No such thing as a self-made millionaire or billionaire. 1,000%. How long until TikTok censors pew pew? You know what's crazy is so I've been popping off with virality on Facebook, and so in one of my posts, I said I also have a channel on the tube of you. Go and subscribe. I put that in writing, and there's a little AI agent that helps you figure out how to continue your success. And then after I made that post, the AI agent goes, "It was really cute how you said tube of you to mean YouTube. Maybe next time, instead of pushing people to that site, you should push them to something else you're doing on Facebook." And I was like, oh, I hate this. I hate this right now. But like, yeah, I don't think Pew Pew, I think it already knows what Pew Pew is, but it just wants to see if it can get us all talking like children. And the answer is yes. The answer is yes, it absolutely can. The tube, yeah, right. Probably too expensive to get Shakira's face on a t-shirt. Waka waka. Yeah, maybe. Maybe for Shakira Law. Join Ben's Muslim Brotherhood with the Shakira Law. Will these shirts be made in a union print shop? I don't know. I got people, CKK. I got people. I'm going to talk to them about it. If I know the people well, I feel like that's something they'd consider, but also, I don't know. All I know is you're all going to fucking buy one. Support what we're doing here as we move forward. Shakira Law, what's that? Don't pay taxes. Yeah. Is she in tax? I better not hear about that. I'll go rescue her right now. Because I'm telling you, that was like the debate for all the boys my age, like when we were 12, like, oh, Christina Aguilera or Britney Spears. I'm like, fuck out of here. Shakira. Obviously Shakira. Like, you know, not just looks wise either. The music, all of it. Oh, good to know. Ray Gun, it also makes NBC shirts. I'll have to run that past Kurt. But yeah, it looks like we're not going to get into the tariff war. Although realistically, knowing Trump, by tomorrow it'll probably be canceled. There's been some confusion between Sharia and Shakira law. Shakira law. Yeah, I'm much more of a Shakira law person personally. Wait, did Jesse say ICE reminded him of militias in third world countries? It doesn't feel like something that would be said on Fox News. I never saw Zootopia. They're saying I'm a Gazelle fan from Zootopia, but I never saw it. The way that name Shakira has a sound effect in my brain is hilarious. Okay. Well, I'm missing out then. I remember the trailer for it at the DMV, and I thought the trailer was very funny. I don't have a kid. I really don't even have any kid cousins or nephews or anything like that, so I'd never really have an excuse to see that shit. I would just have to watch it on my own. Which, like, if you like, they made Jim Carrey Dr. Robotnik. I'm like, am I really going to watch all 3 of these Sonic movies? And I did, because Jim Carrey was in it. That's how you do that. But if you're not going to put Jim Carrey in it, it's hard to get me to watch something that's meant for children. Text me that, Justin. I won't remember. Please. But yeah, solid show today. Subscribe on YouTube and Facebook and TikTok. I'm not even going to disguise the names today. I'm just going to say them. Subscribe in all the places. We're getting close. What sucks is, like, Facebook throttled me. Someone told me it seems as though I have Facebook or social media addiction now, because I was growing at such a rapid rate. And now, since I've been talking to you guys, I've only gained about 30 followers, as opposed to like the 300 an hour I had been gaining for the last 5 days. But it seems as though all the magic has ended. I think I might repost my super viral post again and see if I can't capture that magic one more time. Or maybe it's run its course. Who knows? But, and I will, yeah, Facebook isn't live. I'm going to repost this video on Facebook for anyone who missed it and let them know. But nevertheless, I do appreciate all the support as we get close. Jay says Ben's getting a little big. He's going to forget us little people. I messed up my joke. Anytime one of you guys say that, I intentionally, you know what? Kay makes a great point. I'm never going to forget you guys. I got to use the wrong name every time someone says that. The AI agent is giving you a little what's what over there. Maybe. Maybe. Quite possibly. I'm actually working on a website as well that's going to be going live. And, well, not working on, it's basically done, but I just got to hook it up to shit now. But my plan is to have a one-stop shop where, like, if YouTube cancels me or if TikTok shadow bans me again, or if any of that bullshit happens, I'm going to have my own cell phone platform, so that you can all just kind of gravitate there. That way, if any of the social media apps get all uppity with me, that's going to be like the one central point where you're like, I haven't been seeing Ben's shit lately. Go to the website, and that's going to be where it all is. But once that's up and running, I will let you know. I have a Discord server that I actually control now. Not today. Once I have things up and running tomorrow, I will post it in the chat for the people that want to join. But we have a Discord chat up and running. I had a much more populated one, but the woman who was running it kind of started acting like a jag. So we started a second one. And we'll go from there. But oh, Jesse Ventura said it. Yes, I agree. That Jesse is on point. I thought you meant Jesse Waters. But okay. Nevertheless, that's going to do it for today, ladies and gentlemen. Ben After Dark tonight, 7 p.m. I will talk to you all then. If you're not a Ben After Dark enthusiast, then I will see you all tomorrow morning. Now I'm going to get you one, CKK. You shut your mouth. You're getting a link. Now I'm in control. Now I'm in control. And I will handle it. Everybody have a good day. I will talk to you, some of you, later this evening. Tomorrow, Canada tariffs. You got a deal, old lib. Take it easy, everybody.